It's time to get your news on. We are VK1WIA.
And it is the national news from the WIA for week commencing September 29, 2024. This week, WIA's Grant Willis VK5GR on both the Oceania DX contest when he joins Felix and as chairman of the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee, the latest on the 40-metre band plan proposal. WIA Director Lee Moyle VK3GK. WIA's Editor-in-Chief of AR Magazine VK2ZRH Roger Harrison and WIA Past President Justin VK7 Tangled Whiskers updates us on Tassie Ham Conference. Now wait, there is much more in this edition of news from your Wireless Institute of Australia. I'm Editor Graham VK4BB.
This news originates from the Wireless Institute of Australia. Born to lead since 1910.
This is WIA Director Lee Moyle, VK3GK. At the recent Radio Amateur Old-Timers Club, RAOTC AGM luncheon held last week at the Caulfield RSL in Melbourne, both Robert Broomhead, VK3DN, and Peter Young, VK3MV, were officially presented with their WIA Honorary Life Memberships by WIA President Scott Williams, VK3KJ. Scott spoke about both Peter and Robert's long-time volunteer commitment and contributions to the WIA and amateur radio in general. The meeting was well attended. In fact, a full house of around 50 or so RAOTC members participated. WIA board members present included Peter Klee, VK8ZZ, and myself. Last month, while attending the Tokyo Ham Fair in Japan, the WIA was well represented as I met with JARL President and Secretary, MARTS President, KRARL President, IARU Secretary, and representatives from the Radio Amateur Society of Thailand and PARA. General discussions consisted typically on membership, youth involvement, harmonisation of the 40-metre band plan and the upcoming IARU Region 3 conference being held in Thailand early November this year. The WIA is represented by Peter Young, VK3MV, who volunteered his time to be our delegate. Earlier this week saw PubCom release the latest edition of AR Magazine. This edition focuses on being a DIY special and includes articles on the construction of a balanced line ATU for HF, a 241 GHz transceiver, an Arduino project for your ICOM rig, and an article on auroral propagation experiments using digital modes, plus the usual editorials and regular columns. Don't forget that the Oceania DX contest is on in October. This is the 79th year it has been running, and the WIA and NZART co-sponsor the event. The phone section is on Saturday the 6th of October starting at 0600 UTC, and the following weekend of the 13th is the CW section again starting at 0600 UTC. Both go for 24 hours with many certificates and plaques available to section winners. This is a great contest to enter for both newcomers and the experienced contester, as the world is looking for VKZL and Oceania stations. A great way to increase your DX tally. You could easily achieve DXCC in a weekend and then apply for one of the many WIA awards available free to WIA members. Please check out the OCDX contest rules, available awards and plaques sponsors at www.oceanadxcontest.com for further information. That's all for this week. For now, 7-3 from Lee, VK3GK.
This is Grant, VK5GR, on behalf of the Wireless Institute of Australia's Technical Advisory Committee. I'd like to talk to you about the work that's underway, evaluating the 40-metre band plan and looking at ways to improve its harmonisation across the world. One of the major projects being undertaken this year is to explore the potential to improve the harmonisation of the 40-metre band, initially within Region 3, but ideally also on a global basis. To start this work, the WIA released a consultation paper reviewing the current state of the world and setting forth the case for change. We also considered ways that could be used to determine empirically how the spectrum should be divided on a fair basis and what various solutions might look like. It's fair to say that this has generated a substantial amount of discussion and feedback from the amateur radio community, which is good to see. It is also important to make it clear that this is just the beginning of what will be a lengthy process, given that for any change to be accepted, it is necessary to build consensus and agreement on the best way forward. The first round consultation closed on September the 6th, and we received well over 100 submissions from individuals and clubs from around the world. The feedback has now been analysed, and a summary of our initial findings is now available on the WIA website. What's more, given the information provided to us by the community, the WIA is clear that there was not a lot of support for many of the original proposals raised for discussion. As a result, we're now working on a new paper, considering the views and information that have been received. It is intended to have this new paper completed shortly and make it in time for circulation prior to the IARU Region 3 conference, which will be held in November. We'll be inviting the amateur community to again provide us with feedback on the Round 2 paper once it's released. We'll let you know when it's ready, which will hopefully be very soon. That's all from me this week. Good morning all from Grant VK5GR.
Okay, dudes. This is Editor-in-Chief of Amateur Radio Magazine, Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH. Undoubtedly, some lucky members have already begun dipping into issue 5, having received their hard copy late this past week. Other members have been dipping into their electronic issue, which was posted to the WIA webpage on Wednesday last. Thank you, Robert Broomhead, VK3DN. This one's a do-it-yourself special issue. Too often we read or hear that hams don't build stuff anymore, or worse, detractors claim that we publish stuff, quote, nobody's ever going to build, end quote. Well, that nobody would be them, as they circulate that meme via their black box PC or transceiver. To each their own. If your fingers itch or twitch to pick up side cutters or a soldering iron sitting idle, this issue is one for you. Aside from the projects I listed last week, the 241 gig rig, the balanced antenna matcher and the ICOM rig commander, the indefatigable Lou DiStefano VK3AQZ completes his series of innovative transceiver test sets. A good joint might be hard to find, warns Jim Tregellis VK5JST, who explains a few hard and soft truths about soldering. The flock of Aurora this past year has led to experiments being conducted in auroral scatter propagation and related sporadic E events on the 2 metre band, led by Rex Monker, VK7MO. Using digital modes, Rex and his team have made measurements and drawn some interesting conclusions about identifying different propagation modes. Hams still do stuff at the forefront of radio technology and techniques. Who remembers the old days when television interference, aka TVI, was something to worry about when you put your station to air? Well, TVI can return these days on the national broadband network. Lax maintenance of the hybrid fibre coax network that was established across urban and suburban areas of our cities and towns 20 to 30 years ago can lead to interference from your on-air operations. The good news is NBN TVI can be resolved. As usual, there's much more in this issue, number 5 for 2024. Indeed, it is so packed with such sparkling content that the Publication Committee recommends you wear safety glasses to read it. You'll recognise it easily when it lands in your mailbox or at your newsagent. There's a naked man on the front cover. Well, a photo of a statue of a naked man. It's Mercury, the Roman messenger of the gods. Amateur Radio Magazine issue 5. More guts, less gab. Proudly produced and printed in Australia. Always published to a schedule, never random. I'm Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH for VK1WIA News.
From here, there and everywhere, You've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
Hello. Leading international news this week from the United States. US law enforcement has disrupted a second major Chinese hacking group nicknamed Flax Tycoon and wrested thousands of compromised devices from its grasp, FBI Director Christopher Reyes said. Flax Typhoon was being run by a Chinese company called the Integrity Technology Group that posed as an IT firm but also collected intelligence and performed reconnaissance for Chinese government security agencies. In an advisory also made public last week, British, Canadian, Australian and New Zealand cyber officials also accused Integrity Technology Group of being behind the malicious cyber operation and said that as of June, it had compromised more than 250,000 devices around the world. A previously known hacking group dubbed Volt Typhoon has been the subject of increasing concern by Western officials since it was first identified last year as cyber sabotage group focusing on establishing a foothold in critical US infrastructure. US officials have said it's a China-backed group, while Beijing have said it's a ransomware gang. When the FBI tried to take control of the botnet's infrastructure, the hackers responded with a cyber attack before abandoning the fight. The National Association for Amateur Radio, ARRL, has announced a partnership with Grouper, the national leader in activity benefit administration. This collaboration aims to enhance the health of ARRL members by providing access to benefits that support staying active and engaged. Grouper connects its members to benefits that cover costs associated with group activities. By joining Grouper and staying connected through amateur radio, ARRL members who are 65 plus and have participating Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement plans can unlock the activity benefit offered by these plans and receive a check in the mail to support their membership dues. Radio Club of America announces 2024 award recipient. Radio Club of America, RCA, recognises leaders and major contributors to the field of wireless communications. This year, several hams received awards, and this particular one today is Whiskey Alpha 3 Foxtrot Echo Tango. Dr. James Breakall, WA3FET, has received the Dr. Ulrich L. Rohde Award for Innovation in Applied Radio Science and Engineering. Dr. Breakall began his career as a graduate student at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, working on antenna analysis and radar probing of the ionosphere. At LLNL, he and his group worked on the development of the Numerical Electromagnetics Code, NEC, the first sophisticated antenna modelling program. Other significant projects that he's worked on were the designs of the HARP facility in Alaska, both HF facilities at Arecibo, and the Kinstar low-profile AM broadcast antenna. Dr. Breakall, electrical, and Tim Duffy, mechanical, designed the very popular ham radio Skyhawk Yagi antenna, and Dr. Breakall, WA3FET, is the inventor of the optimized wideband antenna, OWA. West Bengal Radio Club do it again. A sexagenarian who was sold by his father and stepmother in Delhi 52 years ago has finally found his younger brother thanks to the ham radio operators of the West Bengal Radio Club. The person was identified through cut marks in his back inflicted by his father with a sickle when he was only 8. His father had given him 2 consecutive blows in his back that resulted in deep cut injuries. After another 2 years of being unable to bear with the naughtiness of their child, they allegedly sold him in Delhi. Presently, the sexagenarian is lodged at a state-run home. The home authorities had asked the West Bengal Radio Club, the organisation of ham radio enthusiasts in the state, to locate his home. His residence was located, and his younger brother was contacted. The younger brother refused to take him back, with so many years having passed. The ham radio operators contacted the district magistrate and sought his intervention. Finally, the younger brother has agreed to take his elder brother back home. The district administration has assured of taking measures so that the elder brother gets share of his deceased father's property. For VK1 WIA National News, in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1 WIA. Now, operational news with VK4 FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Now, contest-wise 2024. This weekend on Now. The CQ Worldwide DX Ready Contest concludes 23:59 hours UTC on Sunday, 29. Using Ready on the 80 to 10 metre bands where contests are permitted, the exchange is Signal Report and your CQ zone. Oceania DX Contest.
Folks, it's time once more to warm up your linears and tune up your antennas, as next weekend marks the 79th running of the Oceania DX Phone Contest. The contest, which starts at 0600 hours UTC on October the 5th, is open to all amateurs who want to use the 160, 80, 40, 20, 15 and 10 metre bands. And there's a great opportunity to put Oceania on the world stage. There are many awards and trophies on offer, with something for everyone, be it QRP or QRO, YLs or newcomers. To take part, first head over to the contest website, www.oceaniadxcontest.com, and have a read of the rules. Then, load up your favourite logging program, and away you go. For Australian participants in particular, there are numerous plaques to be won, as well as the special club competition trophy. Details of these are also available on the website. Not to be outdone, for the CW aficionados out there, the following weekend will see the CW leg of the contest run as well, with the same bands and categories, starting at 0600 on October the 12th. So, if you're a regular contester or want to try contesting for the first time in an environment where the rest of the world's antennas are aimed at Oceania, why not give it a go? We'd love to see you on the air. 73s from the Oceania DX Contest Committee.
International Earth Moon Earth Contest. 0000 hours UTC on Saturday through 23:59 hours UTC Sunday. 2.3 GHz and up this weekend, September 21-22. 50 to 1296 MHz October 19 and 20, and November 16-17. Work as many amateur stations as possible via the Earth Moon Earth path on any authorised amateur frequency in the bands for these specific weekends. EME logs due back to the ARRL December 17. Now let's open the DX window to the world. Arctic. Oleg RD-1A is on board the Severny Borealis North Pole and will be active when time permits as RI-42SP as the ship travels through various parts of the Arctic. The vessel departed Murmansk on September 15 with a team of scientists aboard and is heading towards the Novosibirsk Islands. This is where the drifting polar station will begin its work as part of the North Pole 42 expedition. For many months, polar explorers will conduct research in the high latitudes of the Arctic Ocean, encompassing over 50 scientific programs. Ham station is primarily on CWN FT8 from October the 5th for approximately 1 year. QSL RD1A via Club Log OQRS. Somalia. Only last week we told of the group of operators to be active as 603T from northern Somalia. Now word comes it was cancelled. Why? Well, the team remained silent on this for a time, but have now released a note to say, given the very dangerous circumstances in which the entire team found ourselves, we decided to wait until we arrived in safe territory to send the information that everyone has been waiting for, and obviously to anticipate the return in agreement with the institutional contacts we had. The whole team is in good health, although mentally very stressed by the definitely traumatic experience that happened to us, although all precautions have been implemented. When you travel the world, the unexpected is just around the corner. The team now is on its way to Europe. As soon as each operator has arrived home, it will be our pleasure, duty, to share with the whole ham radio community our terrible experience in a land where no one is in charge. But at the same time, everyone has a say. For BK1WIA National News, I'm Felix BK4FU Inningham.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, first up in Worldwide Special Interest Groups, it's astronomy and wireless weather. Astronomers have uncovered something pretty remarkable emerging from the depths of space after detecting a powerful series of radio waves. The signal, known as FRB 2022-0610A, is made up of dazzling radio wave flashes that last just milliseconds at a time. What makes them truly astonishing is that these radio waves have been travelling through space for a total of 8 billion years, and it could help experts to gain a better understanding of one of the great mysteries of the universe. These signals could theoretically help astronomers to put together a more comprehensive understanding of the universe. One of the people involved in the research is astronomer Dr. Stuart Ryder from Macquarie University in Australia. He said FRBs are common and hold great promise. They could be used to create a new map of the universe's structure and answer big questions about cosmology. The strength of the newly observed signal is truly staggering, with FRB 2022-0610A emitting the same amount of energy that our Sun produces in 30 years in the space of just a few milliseconds. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Final Frontier. Green Cube IO117 ceases functioning due to radiation damage. The Green Cube satellite, developed by S5LAB, has likely ceased functioning due to radiation damage. After a successful mission that exceeded expectations, the satellite is no longer responding to commands, and its onboard radio is believed to have been compromised by the harsh radiation environment in medium Earth orbit, MEO. Green Cube experienced a reboot, and telemetry data from that event did not indicate any anomalies. However, the S5LAB team now suspects that the satellite's radio was damaged, leading to the current communication blackout. MEO is notoriously challenging for satellites due to its high radiation levels, and Green Cube was not the only satellite affected. Several other CubeSats launched alongside it only lasted a few days, making Green Cube's extended mission duration a remarkable achievement. Despite ongoing efforts to send commands and reactivate the satellite, the team remains pessimistic about restoring Green Cube's functionality. The satellite's survival in the hostile MEO environment is seen as a testament to its robust design, but the likelihood of recovery is slim. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, IOTA, Mafia Island AF054. Vlad, operating as 5H1WX, said there's a big issue with regards to electricity and other power on Mafia Island. The problem is, while using a generator as power source, at idle it gives 250 volts at around 40 Hz, but when he transmits with, say, 800 watts out, the voltage drops to 170 to 150 volts, and the frequency changes from 39 to 45 Hz. Using 100 watts on FT8 is okay, and approximately 300 watts on CW is also okay, but no more than that. Vlad added that unfortunately the whole island has a power supply problem. Sometimes it doesn't run all day. In total, 3 generators have been used, each one worse than the other. Reunion Island AF016. Listen for TO2DX from Reunion Island, IOTA number AF016, through until the 7th of October, using CW, RTTY and FT8 on 60 through to 10 metres. Listen for TO2DX as well in the CQ Worldwide RTTY DX contest on this weekend, the 28th and 29th of September. QSL to OM2DX. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Rescue Radio. Amateur Radio is responding to 2 different tropical events as of midweek. The National Hurricane Center reports that Hurricane John made landfall on Mexico's southern Pacific coast late Monday evening, about 80 miles east of Acapulco, as a Category 3 storm. Winds were reported up to 120 miles per hour. Life-threatening flash flooding is expected across portions of southern Mexico during the next few days. Meanwhile, hurricane and storm surge watches cover much of the Gulf Coast of Florida, as a system churning in the Caribbean was just designated as Tropical Storm Helene and is projected to strengthen into a major storm. Residents were asked to ensure that they had their hurricane plan in place and also follow the advice given by local officials. Florida declared a state of emergency for 41 counties along and near the state's Gulf Coast because of threats from the storm. If the storm makes landfall as a hurricane, it could be the fourth landfalling hurricane in mainland U.S. this year, joining Beryl, Debbie and Francine. The Hurricane Watch Net is on 20 metres, 14.325 MHz upper side, and 40 metres on 7.268 MHz lower side. Any change to the Hurricane Watch Net plans will be on their website, hwn.org. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, VHF and above. In the USA, the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, has filed comments with the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, urging that their 902 to 928 MHz amateur radio band be protected. ARRL joins hundreds of licensed radio amateurs who utilize the band in opposing the proposal from NextNav Incorporated, a licensee in the 900 MHz location and monitoring service, LMS, to completely reconfigure the 902 to 928 MHz band and replace the LMS with high-powered 5G cellular and related location services. Also weighing in is Electronic Frontier Foundation, a non-profit group in the US advocating for freedom in the use of technology. It has added its voice to the chorus, urging the FCC to keep the 900 MHz band accessible to amateur radio operators, industrial, scientific and medical devices, and unlicensed consumer electronics. And that's the latest Worldwide Special Interest Group news for this week. I'm Cole, VK3GTV.
Across Australia from VK1 WIA, you're tuned to the WIA National News Service. In Melbourne, it can be heard on VK3RML 146.7 MHz at 10:30 AM and 8 PM. I'm Peter, VK3YE.
2024, it's a date, and clubs are welcome to email text with audio for this section. Details of all WIA affiliated clubs and societies can be found on the WIA website, including email addresses and website links. VK4, the Gold Coast Hamfest, October 13, Nerang Country Paradise Parklands. That's at 231 Beaudesert Nerang Road, Nerang. And for listeners of VK4's Q News, lots more detail coming up in the next edition in just a sec. VK5, Amateur Radio Experimenters Group Radio and Electronics Sale, Saturday 26 October. That's at 10 AM, David Roche Park, Kilburn. And the Tassie Ham Conference.
The 2024 Tassie Hamicon Amateur Radio Conference happens on the first weekend of November. The theme of the conference is Innovations in Amateur Radio, and last week we heard about the 3 keynotes headlining the program. This week we hear about some of the other fascinating presenters on the weekend. We've got cyber security expert Marcus, VK3TST, taking us through the cyber security implications for our hobby. David, VK5KK, presenting and demonstrating the latest experimentation on the highest frequency available to advanced amateurs, that's 241 GHz. Paris, VK7SYN, will be taking us on an AI and machine learning journey, including some interesting demonstrations on how it can work for amateur radio operators. November 2nd and 3rd, 2024, in the Sir Stanley Burbury Theatre, UTAS. The full program is available at the link on the email edition of this broadcast, and with innovation at its core, this event is a must-attend for all radio enthusiasts. Book now.
Thanks again, Justin. Now, VK3 Spark Rosebud Radio Fest, November 17, Eastbourne Primary School. That's at Rosebud. Now till next we meet, I am Graham. I am VK4BB. walk softly.
This has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.
We have some fast solar wind hitting now with a solar storm chaser, and some returning regions on the east limb could bump up activity. Those stories and more are in this week's Spotlight. If you want to learn how weather from our star causes impacts at the Earth that shape the future of our world, join Professors Dr. Jenny Meehan, Michael Cook, and myself as we guide you through a space weather certificate program like no other. To enroll in the Space Weather and Environment Science program offered at Millersville University, go to millersville.edu/SWEN. It's weather for the 21st century. This forecast also sponsored in part by CW Ops. Space weather this week stays a bit on the mild side. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, we do have a lot of active regions in Earth view, but they're kind of in a holding pattern. They really haven't been firing off any big flares. In actuality, the biggest activity we've gotten is from fast wind from this coronal hole that's rotating in through the Earth strike zone. The fast wind it's sending has actually managed to bring us aurora clear down to mid-latitudes, likely because we're really close to the equinox, so the impacts end up being quite larger. But the nice thing is that we do actually have one active region. This is region 3834 and 3835, kind of this cluster of stuff here. This one back on the 22nd fired, wham, right there. A beautiful solar storm launch right there. You can see it looks very much like it's going to be going to the east of Earth. But when we take a look at it in coronagraphs, you can see this partial halo. Let me try to pull it up just a little bit more. Whereas it actually looks, you can see it kind of going all the way around the sun like this. It was an asymmetric halo, but that does mean that part of it is Earth directed. And so this solar storm is going to be chasing that fast solar wind and be hitting us really any time now. But since then, it kind of destabilized this filament and destabilized that filament, but we still haven't seen them launch. They're still holding on as well. So what we've really been paying attention to is region 3836. This is the region that's just beginning to rotate into view. We even have a couple regions after that we're watching as well. But when we take a closer look at the activity that's going on with this region, we can pull up here in magnetic field imaging. You can actually see as this thing gets closer into focus, as it rotates further into view, you can see all of this red region in here, and then you see this blue and white region. And take a look at these little fingers of red that are poking up into the blue and white. That's showing that this region really could be a big flare player. So we've been watching it very closely because it sure looks like activity could be picking up from these regions here in the next few days. Now, switching back to that solar storm that's Earth-directed, we switch to our solar storm prediction model, ENLIL. Now, this is NOAA's version of the model. The top panel's density, the bottom panel's velocity. You're looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. And when we set this solar storm model in motion, you can actually see that solar storm launching mainly to the east of Earth. You can see it's quite long here, but it does have a finger that extends upward along the Earth-Sun line. So it looks like we're going to just get grazed by this solar storm. NOAA had predicted that this storm would impact us early on the 25th. That has not happened, likely because of this fast wind stream right here. You can actually see the density plug here that kind of acts as like a brick wall. You can see a little bit of that fast wind stream here. That is likely slowing down this solar storm. So we kind of have to wait for that fast solar wind to wane just a little bit before this solar storm hits us. So we're expecting it later on today. Now, as we take a look at the NOAA version of the model, again, we're looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. You're going to see this solar storm launch, but if you look very closely, closely, I'm actually showing the shock wave in front of that solar storm. Yes, NASA actually models the shock as well as the bulk of the solar storm. And as we pull it out, you can see we actually get a bigger hit from the shock itself. This is the part that we've been kind of waiting for to come. It is on the late side, but it still looks like the shock is coming. The bulk of this structure will hit us late on the 25th, but more likely into the 26th because it's being delayed again by this fast solar wind stream that we have just ahead of it. So aurora photographers, if you're at mid-latitudes, you might even be enjoying a bit of fun from the fast solar wind, but we could get a plus up in activity once that solar storm hits. We could even see G2 levels before things begin to calm down. So expect to keep your batteries charged, but stay on your toes because this storm could hit at any minute. So what else does our sun have in store for us this week? Well, to determine that, we go to our full sun map that utilizes SDO AIA imagery for the sun's front side and solar orbiter EUI imagery on the sun's far side to get an idea of what active regions might be lurking there. And to orient you, if I set this in motion, you can see here's the east limb of the sun in Earth view, and here's region 3834 and 3835. These were the regions that fired off that Earth-directed solar storm that we're waiting for. But as we look past that, back around on the 20th and 21st, here's what will be region 3836. You can see it's got some activity here, but take a look at region 3811 and 3821. These are returning regions, and you can watch some of the activity. Bam, right there's a little something. This region is actually growing as well. So as we watch some of this activity with these two regions, we know we have at least two more active regions that will end up being possibly big flare players and possibly solar storm producers. So expect, for you amateur radio operators, expect that solar flux to increase as well as that radio noise here over the next week. And potentially we will also have more activity and more solar storms. Now, switching to our moon, we are now passing through the third quarter phase on our way to a new moon. And by the 30th, the moon will be about 4.5% illuminated. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch those dim objects in the sky, like, I don't know, maybe some aurora near the equinox, well, now is your perfect chance because this guy is a bit on the dim side. And now switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are anticipating the hit from that Earth-directed solar storm that's following that fast solar wind. So at high latitudes, NOAA is expecting major storm conditions, and we have up to about a 20% chance of a severe storm on the 26th, but things will calm down quite quickly because it's only a glancing blow. So by the 27th, things could be back down into active conditions, and then we will continue to quiet down after that. Now at mid-latitudes, well, the story's about the same. We're expecting minor conditions, but we do have up to about a 40% chance of a major storm. And again, back to active conditions by the 27th, and then things will continue to quiet down. Of course, we do have those new regions rotating into Earth view, and we could have multiple filament launches. So the back part of this forecast could definitely change very quickly. But aurora photographers, you should keep your cameras at the ready because we could get some more aurora this week. Now, switching to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week. Well, we're sitting well into the triple digits. We're sitting at about the 170s right now, and that's about where we'll stay. We've got some moderate noise on the bands right now. This is because we do have a couple big flare players in Earth view, and more are coming. NOAA's giving us about a 55% chance of an M-class flare at R1 to R2 level radio blackout, and about a 20% chance of X-class flares at an R3 level radio blackout, and that will easily last over the next couple days until those new regions rotate into Earth view. And I've kind of bumped up the levels just a little bit, not too much, but that does mean that we are watching that radio noise rise just a little bit as well as that solar flux. So radio propagation should remain pretty good on the dayside bands, but we could have more radio blackouts in store. And now as we switch to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week, everything is basically in the green this week. We're sitting at the D1 normal range for you aviators at flight level 360, and that is the S0 quiet range for everybody else. NOAA's only giving us about a 5% chance of an S1 to S2 level radiation storm. That might rise as we move through the 5-day because we have a few more regions that are going to be rotating to the west limb that we have to watch out for. But overall, everything is reasonably quiet. So you frequent flyers, and this does include air aircrew and high-risk passengers, for the most part, we're all in the green and we're likely going to stay that way. So the space weather this week has been a bit on the mild side, but activity is beginning to pick up. Now, we do have some fast solar wind that's hitting Earth now, and that's going to be followed by a solar storm chaser. And because of the equinox, that's going to allow aurora to come down to mid-latitudes. So you aurora photographers, you've already been getting a little bit of aurora sporadically at mid-latitudes. When that storm hits, it could really bump up the shows a bit. So make sure you keep your cameras at the ready. And now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, things have been reasonably quiet. We did have that one big M-class flare a few days ago when that solar storm was launched, but since then it's been just low-level M-class flares, really not all that much to talk about. Now, activity may be picking up here in the next maybe 3 days as these new regions rotate into Earth view. Radio noise might also pick up a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad, I'm hoping. So hopefully not too many big R3 level radio blackouts are in store this week, and you kind of can continue to enjoy the dayside radio bands. And now you GPS users, well, we do have, a bit of inclement weather right now, especially on the night side, because we do have some aurora that's dipping down into mid-latitudes, and that's likely going to increase over the next couple days as the solar storm passes through. But we're not having the huge R3 level radio blackouts on the Earth's day side. So that means that radio reception, or GPS reception rather, for you on dawn and dusk might be all right, but just stay vigilant, and on the day side, your reception should be pretty good. I'm Tamara the Scope, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.